The Good Morning America studio buzzed with its usual pre-show energy. Bright lights glowed, cue cards were shuffled, makeup was retouched, and cameras panned to their marks. But what no one expected was that today's guest, Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, was about to ignite a televised confrontation that would have producers scrambling, viewers stunned, and the internet ablaze for days. She entered with that same polished confidence the world had come to recognize. Back straight, smile practiced, energy tightly controlled. Across from her sat Robin Roberts, a seasoned journalist known for grace under pressure. Their meeting was meant to be a cordial morning segment, light on conflict, heavy on cause. But from the moment Meghan settled into her seat, the air felt loaded. Meghan, it's wonderful to have you with us this morning, Robin began, her tone warm but professional. Our audience is eager to hear about your new initiatives and the incredible work you're doing for global literacy. Thank you, Meghan replied, her voice silky but clipped. Though I do wonder if we're actually here to talk about literacy, or if this is going to turn into something else entirely. That single line, part smirk, part warning, sent a ripple through the control room. Robin blinked, not thrown, but aware. I'm sorry, could you clarify? Meghan leaned forward, her hands resting in her lap. It's just that I've seen the list of talking points your producers sent. Half of it is palace drama, tabloid nonsense, and things that have absolutely nothing to do with why I'm here. The studio lights hummed above. The tension was audible. Robin kept her expression neutral. Meghan, this is a platform for your voice. We're open to discussing your work, but we also, like every major outlet, ask questions viewers want answered. You've made public statements. People want clarity. Clarity, Meghan repeated, her tone suddenly sharp. Or content? Because there's a difference. Now Robin's posture shifted. Not aggressive, but firm. We don't ambush our guests, you know that. But being a public figure comes with accountability. And I'm here, Meghan snapped, because people deserve to hear about the actual work I do. Not my father, not the royals, not recycled scandal. Robin nodded slightly. So let's talk about your literacy program. But Meghan didn't take the detour. She held her ground. Before we do that, let's talk about why media outlets, including yours, continue to reduce women, especially women like me, to headlines that strip away complexity. Robin's brow furrowed. 1,000 interviews had trained her for tough moments. But this one was walking the line between passionate and hostile. We strive for fairness. Meghan's reply was instant. Fairness would be leading with substance, not spectacle. Fairness would be letting me speak without having to defend my existence. A silence stretched long enough for viewers to notice. Then Robin, still calm, said, "Isn't this you speaking?" That question lingered. It wasn't an attack, but it struck a nerve. Meghan's jaw tightened. You don't get to decide that. At that moment, something shifted. The camera didn't just capture an interview. It captured a collision. Not just of personalities, but of expectations, power, and pain. And the morning had only just begun. The pause in the studio hung like a thick curtain. Behind the cameras, producers exchanged panicked glances. This was no longer just an interview. It was a live dissection of reputations. Robin Roberts was choosing every word with the precision of a surgeon. Meghan Markle, on the other hand, had clearly decided she was not here to play nice. I'm not here to entertain speculation, Meghan said finally, her voice lower now, but sharp, like a blade under velvet. I'm not a character in someone's royal fantasy or a headline to be manipulated for views. Robin leaned back slightly, her hands gently folded. No one's trying to turn you into a headline, Meghan, but you have to understand you've made your life a very public story, and when you speak on global platforms about your personal struggles, the public is going to ask follow-up questions. Meghan's laugh was short and humorless. So this is my punishment for being honest? Robin blinked. No one's punishing you. Really? Meghan raised her eyebrows. Because it feels like I'm being put on trial for daring to speak my truth. You don't see it, Robin, but interviews like this, they always come with a price. Robin's voice remained even. I think there's a difference between accountability and persecution. You came here to promote your cause, and I respect that. But you're also one of the most talked about women in the world. That doesn't come without questions. Meghan crossed her legs, her posture shifting into something more defensive. Talked about, yes, but not understood. People think they know me, but they don't. They see what they're told to see. Then why not use this moment to show them who you really are? Robin asked. Meghan froze. There it was, an opening. But instead of taking it, she deflected. Because it doesn't matter what I show. People like you have already made up your minds. You call it journalism, but it's performance. Robin sat still, but her eyes narrowed. You think this is a performance? It is. I think you want a moment, Meghan said. A viral clip. Something you can tease online and say, look what we made her say. That's unfair, Robin replied. You agreed to this conversation. We didn't trick you into coming here. Meghan shook her head slowly. You may not have tricked me, but you knew what you were doing. You knew the questions that would make headlines. Robin paused, considering her next move. Then carefully, if we can't ask questions, Meghan, then what is this? A monologue? It's supposed to be a dialogue, Meghan snapped, but one that isn't constantly trying to back me into a corner. Robin's voice dropped a level. I'm not backing you into anything, but I do think that when someone positions themselves as a champion of truth and justice, they should be willing to answer hard questions. Meghan's jaw clenched. So I'm a hypocrite now? I didn't say that. You didn't have to. The air in the studio was no longer just tense, it was electric. In the control room, a producer hovered over the cut to commercial button, but the director shook his head. This was gold. Robin took a breath. Let's talk about your projects. The literacy campaign, the mentorship program. Now you want to pivot, Meghan said, voice sharp, after you've already painted me as combative. Robin remained calm. No one's painted you as anything, Meghan, but you've been pushing back since the first question. Meghan's eyes burned, because I knew what this was the moment I sat down. The two women stared at each other. Viewers at home couldn't look away. This wasn't scripted. This wasn't rehearsed. It was raw, live, and unraveling. Robin tried once more. Let's reset. You've done important work. Let's talk about that. No, Meghan interrupted. Let's talk about why you're only interested in my work after I've made a scene. Why do I have to fight to be taken seriously? Robin didn't flinch. You're being taken seriously. Right now, the entire country is listening. Then let's be honest, Meghan said, voice rising. You didn't invite me here for the work. I was invited for the drama, and I played right into it. The admission shocked everyone, even Robin. A second of silence, then Robin said quietly, You're wrong. I wanted to give you space to speak, but it seems like you came in ready for war. Meghan sat back, her face hard. Because I've learned I can't afford not to. The studio lights beamed steadily, illuminating the battlefield that the interview stage had become. Meghan Markle sat forward, her voice still taut with anger from the previous exchange, while Robin Roberts maintained her posture, calm yet unmistakably steeled. Neither woman blinked. Millions watched, transfixed. If I wanted to be the story, Meghan hissed, I'd be on a reality show, not sitting here trying to talk about something that actually helps people. Robin nodded slowly. But the difference, Meghan, she began, her tone velvet-lined steel, is that you are the story. You made yourself the story when you told the world your version of events. And when people ask you to clarify, to be accountable, that's not attack. That's engagement. Meghan's lips tightened. There's a difference between engagement and ambush. This feels like an ambush. Robin leaned in, now more assertive. You walked into this studio knowing that Good Morning America doesn't serve tea and sympathy. We ask real questions. You knew that. And if all you wanted was a platform without scrutiny, maybe you should have just posted another Instagram video. There was a faint gasp from somewhere off stage. Meghan's face flushed, not just with anger, but with the sting of truth. Robin had pierced through the carefully crafted veil. And let's talk about that platform, Robin continued. You say you want to help people, that you're doing meaningful work. But how do you reconcile that with the deals, the documentaries, the headlines that are always about you? I don't control the headlines, Meghan snapped. I don't write what the tabloids publish. No, but you choose where to sit, what to say, who to blame. Meghan folded her arms, a defensive wall going up. So you think I should be silent? Just fade away? Is that the solution you're offering? I think, Robin said sharply, you should stop calling it truth when what you're telling is only your side. The silence that followed was suffocating. Not a breath stirred in the studio. Meghan's stare could have shattered glass. You know what I've learned, Robin? She finally said, voice low, eyes narrow. No matter how calmly I speak or how much I explain, people like you will always twist it. Because it's not about hearing, it's about winning. Robin's voice dropped an octave. This isn't a contest, it's a conversation. And if you truly believe in helping people, then don't run every time someone asks you to explain. I'm not running, Meghan said, rising from her chair once again. I'm drawing a line. But Robin didn't flinch this time. Then stand by it, but don't expect applause when the only person you're listening to is yourself. Meghan froze for a moment, caught between fury and reflection. The tension had shifted. She had expected sympathy and received a mirror instead. One that refused to flatter. One that showed the public a version of her not softened by PR teams and curated sound bites. Robin sat still, letting the silence hang in the air like a final question. Can you face your reflection without breaking it? The silence in the studio clung like fog, thick, heavy, and charged with the electricity of a storm moments before the first thunderclap. Meghan Markle stood frozen beside her chair, her hands clenched, her breath shallow. Across from her, Robin Roberts remained seated, eyes unwavering, posture straight as ever. If Meghan had drawn a line, Robin had not stepped back from it. Let me make one thing clear, Meghan said finally, her voice low and deliberate. I came here to talk about a literacy program that's changing the lives of children. Not to defend my past, not to be interrogated on live TV like I'm on trial for daring to speak my truth. Robin's gaze didn't soften. And yet here we are. The words hung like a gavel in the air. Meghan exhaled sharply, laughing once, but it was hollow. You talk about accountability, Robin, but let's talk about responsibility. What responsibility do you have, the journalist, to create a space that uplifts instead of tears down? I have a responsibility, Robin replied coolly, to the truth, not to your version of it, not to make you feel comfortable, to the audience, to the facts. Meghan's eyes narrowed. You think I'm lying? I think, Robin said slowly, that you're curating, selectively. Meghan turned toward the camera as if appealing directly to the millions watching. This is exactly the problem. A woman shares her experiences, her pain, her perspective, and instead of being heard, she's told she's manipulating, that she's not telling the real story. Robin followed her gaze and spoke calmly but firmly. You don't get to shield yourself from challenge just because you're emotional. Emotion doesn't equal truth, and pain doesn't exempt you from responsibility. The studio fell deadly quiet. Meghan turned sharply, facing Robin head on now. You think I want this? The interviews? The headlines? The constant scrutiny? I think you want control, Robin said evenly, of your image, of your story, of the conversation. But when you step into the public square, you don't get to control how the world responds. Meghan's jaw clenched. So I should just sit down, shut up, and be grateful? Is that what you're saying? Robin shook her head. I'm saying if you're going to use your platform, use it for more than branding yourself as a martyr. Use it for real work, not just well-lit narratives about your own pain. That struck deep. Meghan's face flushed, her lips parting, as if to speak. But the words didn't come. Robin pressed on, her tone still steady but sharper now. You say this is about the children, about the causes, but every time, somehow it becomes about you. Every interview, every camera, every headline, Meghan Markle, misunderstood, misrepresented, mistreated. At what point does the cause stop being a cause and start being a brand? Meghan flinched slightly, not physically, but the way her composure wavered. It was subtle but undeniable. You know what's exhausting? She asked, voice quieter now. Being reduced to a headline, a caricature. being expected to smile and wave and apologize for making people uncomfortable with the truth. Robin leaned forward now, matching her lowered tone. And you know what's exhausting for the public? Being told over and over that they're too cruel, too blind, too bigoted to understand you, when maybe, just maybe, they're seeing something you don't want to face. Meghan blinked, stunned. And what's that? That your story stopped being about justice a long time ago, Robin replied. It became about vindication, not progress, just payback. A pause. Meghan's face shifted, part confusion, part fury. So you're saying I should apologize for fighting back? She asked, incredulous. No, Robin said softly. I'm saying maybe it's time you stop fighting everyone and start listening. The words landed like a blow. Meghan staggered backward a step, not physically, but emotionally. There was nothing left to deflect with. No curated talking point, no perfect retort, just raw, unscripted confrontation. A flicker of doubt passed through her expression. But pride is a stubborn thing. I think this conversation is over, she said, her voice icy. Robin didn't argue. Maybe it should have started differently in the first place. And just like that, the air shifted again. Not calmer, but colder. The storm wasn't over. It had only retreated. The question left in the studio wasn't who won. It was whether either of them could ever truly recover from what had just been laid bare. The interview chairs now sat empty. Meghan Markle had left the set moments earlier, her mic dropped with symbolic finality. Robin Roberts stood still, composed but visibly shaken, eyes locked with the camera as it went to commercial. But no amount of ad breaks could erase what millions had just witnessed live. In control rooms across the country, TV analysts were already cueing clips. Social media exploded like fireworks on the 4th of July. Meghan V's Robin was trending within minutes, along with hashtag media meltdown, hashtag PR mask off, and the cuttingly popular, this isn't a conversation, it's a campaign. Meghan's departure had been swift but dramatic. Her heels had clicked across the studio floor like a drumbeat of defiance. But as she reached the backstage hallway, something in her expression shifted. The armor cracked. Staff members avoided eye contact. One assistant offered a bottle of water and was met with silence. The Duchess simply disappeared behind a dressing room door, leaving only echoes behind. Back on set, Robin Roberts returned from commercial. The camera zoomed in tight. Her posture was impeccable, her voice steady, but her eyes held something new. Not anger, not regret, something deeper. I want to take a moment to acknowledge what just happened, she began, speaking not as a host but as a human being. This morning was supposed to be about community outreach, education, and purpose. It became something else, something more raw, more uncomfortable, and I believe, necessary. She paused. The silence wasn't awkward, it was earned. There are times, she continued, when public figures forget that platforms come with scrutiny. That authenticity isn't just about saying what feels true, it's about being willing to hear what feels uncomfortable. Today we witnessed a clash not just of personalities, but of worldviews, of what it means to speak truth and what it means to be held accountable for that truth. The audience, both in the studio and across the nation, was silent. Riveted. Outside, the press had already gathered. Paparazzi lenses clicked like machine guns as Meghan's black SUV pulled away from the studio garage. Inside the vehicle, she sat in a stony silence, staring out the window at the New York streets, her reflection staring back, no longer shielded by palace walls or media consultants. Her phone buzzed relentlessly. Messages from her team, supporters, critics, her husband. One from Harry read simply, "I saw. Are you okay?" She didn't respond. By the time the episode of Good Morning America concluded, news sites had already begun dissecting the confrontation. Some headlines sympathized. Meghan Markle ambushed by morning host. Others were brutal. Robin Roberts dismantles Meghan's victim narrative live on air. Public reaction was split, but one theme stood clear. The conversation had changed. Later that afternoon, Robin Roberts released a short statement on her social media. It read, "My job is not to comfort the powerful. It's to ask questions on behalf of those watching who never get the microphone. Sometimes those questions are hard. Sometimes they hurt. But if they spark honesty, then they're worth it. That single post racked up over 2 million likes in under 24 hours. As for Meghan, a pre-scheduled statement from her foundation went out late that evening. It focused on her charitable efforts, not the interview. It didn't mention Robin. It didn't mention the clash. But for many, silence spoke volumes, and yet, for all the fire and fallout, the lasting moment wasn't Meghan's exit or Robin's response. It was the image of two women, both powerful, both complex, standing unflinching before each other in a studio built for smiles, not storms. In that space, the layers peeled back. No filters, no PR, just a mirror, held up not just to Meghan, but to every viewer. What do you see when you look in it?